It seems impossible, but after only 80 years, the real end of the war against Hitler has been forgotten. 7th of March 1945. The US 9th Armour Division, astonished to find the Ludendorff Bridge damaged but intact, crossed the Rhine. 22nd of March 1945. The British 21st Army Group, commanded by Field-Marshal Montgomery, forced an amphibious crossing of the Rhine at Oppenheim. The Allied armies were now in Germany, and the German army, defending their homeland, fought fiercely and fanatically. Relentless and unstoppable, the British, Canadian and US armies attacked the German army from the west. The Russian army attacked from the east. 24th of March 1945. Fighting deep inside Germany, the German army, once the masters of Europe, now beaten, faced disaster. 30th of April 1945. With the Russian army on the outskirts of Berlin, Adolf Hitler and his mistress, Eva Braun, committed suicide. Field Marshal Montgomery moved forward at full speed to capture Schleswig-Holstein before the Russians can take it and move into Denmark. 3rd of May 1945. German Field Marshal Keitel sent a delegation of high-ranking officers to Montgomery's headquarters. The officers were escorted to Montgomery's caravan and waited under the British flag fluttering in the breeze. Montgomery walked towards the German officers and they saluted. He knew they had come to surrender and World War II was over. Through his interpreter, Montgomery asked, "Who are these men and what do they want?" Admiral von Friedeberg then read a letter from Field Marshal Keitel offering the surrender of 3 German armies withdrawing in front of the Russians, but not the surrender of the German armies in Holland, Denmark and northern Germany. Montgomery refused to consider it, telling them, "Surrender to the Russians." Von Friedeberg said, "It is unthinkable to surrender to the Russians. They are savages. All German soldiers will be sent to work in Russia." Montgomery replied, "Surrender all your forces on my western flank, and I will accept a tactical battlefield surrender of all enemy forces immediately opposing me." The German delegation were visibly shocked when Montgomery showed them a map of the battle situation on the whole Western Front. Following lunch, a sullen affair where the German officers sat in stunned silence and tears ran down von Friedeberg's cheeks, Montgomery summons them to his conference tent and demanded that all German forces surrender unconditionally. 4th of May 1945, 6 p.m. the following day. Von Friedeberg and Friedel returned to Montgomery's headquarters. As Montgomery had expected, they returned to surrender, and the document of surrender was signed. All hostilities on land, on sea, or in the air by German forces to cease by 1800 hours British double summer time on Saturday the 5th of May 1945. 7th of May 1945, 3 days later, at Allied headquarters Reims, this time including the Americans and Russians, the German delegation again signed the instrument of surrender. Both Admiral von Friedeberg and General Kinzel, who signed the instrument of surrender, committed suicide. Montgomery now faced a massive problem. Transport and communication had ceased to function, food was scarce and medical supplies low. He had 1.5 million German prisoners of war, many of them wounded, and 1 million civilian refugees who had fled from the advancing Russians.